What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the TradeMarke Podcast. We have a dear friend and a guest that I just love today, Eddie McFarlane, here with us, and we're going to speak about a lot of different things. There's a lot going on in the industry, and I'm super excited. But before we get started, Eddie, you are my favorite quote person. So, what is your favorite quote?
Uh, Too many to choose from. I'll give you my favorite quote from today. It's an old one. To get what we've never had, we may have to do what we've never done.
I love that. What got you here won't get you there.
100%.
That's what you remind me of that after our session together recording. So
Yeah.
let's go into the intro and then we'll get started.
Step into the TradeMarke, your go-to podcast for everything marketing in the trades. Hosted by award-winning industry marketing experts Sarah Ghirardo from Remarkable and Eric Thomas from Rival Digital. Together, we're here to unite the worlds of trades and marketing, bringing you insights, stories, and strategies from the heart of the industry. Whether you're a trade professional, a marketing expert, or somewhere in between, this is the place for you. Listen in as we're here for the big ideas, the game changers, and the everyday successes. Because at the TradeMarke, we're with the trades and for the trades.
All right, Eddie. I'm pretty sure everyone knows who you are, but just give us a background of all of the different titles that you've collected.
Yeah, I'm going to keep collecting until I find one I'm good at. But I've been in the trades 25 years, and I argue with some people about this, but I like to think I'm the luckiest guy in the trades. Started as a helper, did all that sort of thing, and I've done a little bit of everything from service to sales, commercial, residential. My joke is if you show up to enough sales meetings complaining about leads, eventually they promote you to marketing. So I did do a bit of a VP of marketing role. It was actually through digging into our customer journey, customer experience, and the industry in general. That is where I was fortunate to work with Austin Haller and another co-founder, and we were able to put a team together, and a schedule engine was born. And as we know, eventually that incredible team and product is part of the service type portfolio now. Most recently, last 2 years, I am Chief Learning and Development Officer with Sela Services. We have about 40 locations, partner companies up and down the eastern seaboard, across to sort of the Midwest. And I have the honor and fortune of being 2025 chairman of the board for the Air Conditioning Contractors of America. A Scottish guy in that role. The irony is not lost on me. And just for fun, I also have a seat on the board of directors for NATE, the North American Technician Excellence team that does all the certifications for our industry. So really lucky.
Yeah. I don't think it's luck. I think it's hard work.
Well, the harder I work, the luckier I get.
Mhm. I love all the quips that you have. Like they're so they're so impactful. You're like, oh, and you just said something amazing again. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
So today, let's talk about. First off, let's just dive into ACCA a little bit and tell me what ACCA is really for and what you all do for the industry.
Yeah. So most of us, if we've heard of it at all, we might have heard of it through the load calc or the ductwork program. And simply put, these are the men and women that literally wrote the book on how to size an air conditioner properly for originally residential building, then commercial, and then they said, well, okay, this is how the ductwork should attach. And so you've got science and engineering all behind the sizing, and then humidification and controls, and then maintenance. So they literally have all the engineering prowess. I started looking into when I was a new sales manager, and I was trying to figure out, I'm a great one for copying other people's homework and just changing it a little bit. And I was looking around and how to obviously do the best job for the customer, but protect the company as well and protect my team. And so I'd always heard that, if you ever get in a sticky legal situation, you're going to be asked, not just if you did some sort of calculation, but it was an ACCA manual, certified manual J. And so I started learning more about that. The company I was at, we were fortunate enough to be the ACCA 2013 Contractor of the Year. And I was just sort of fascinated. I'm not really a joiner or a board sort of guy. But when I looked at the history of ACCA, which is what I sort of explained, and then I looked at the inflection point because the industry's changing. And most people now interact with a load calc on a computer. And honestly, these days, it's probably your iPhone or your iPad. And so the understanding and the long form of, I doubt anyone's using the word fenestration in regular conversations, right?
Not the F word I would use, no.
No, I'm familiar with that one. So what I loved about the last 5, 6, 7 years of working with ACCA is the industry's reinventing itself again and evolving as part of the board of volunteers and a really short, small, scrappy, but excellent staff. They've taken on the mission to prepare and elevate the men and women in the HVAC contracting world to meet the challenges and opportunities of today. So when you think about that, that's really like a powerful lens to look at it through, and it challenges us every day when in a world where there's consolidation, not just on the contracting side, but on the distribution side. And, as manufacturers are switched to multinational companies, what is the impact? Regulation. Washington's sort of like in flux right now. We've got all new writers for this season, right? So it feels like it's not as predictable. And so meanwhile, contractors wake up every day and go, well, how do I take care of my team? How do I take care of my customers today? And so I look at ACCA's role. If we were a brand archetype, it would be the guardian. They're the white hats. It's altruistic. It's very thankless. And so they stand in that gap and they're prepared to do the hard work that no one's necessarily wakes up wanting to do. And we've just been really fortunate. The industry is filled with a history of men and women that have volunteered their time and really paid back to the industry that has served them so well. And I just was happy to be a small part of that.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on your new seat as the chair. Like, that's awesome. I keep telling you congratulations everywhere I go. But right now the trades are really dealing with a lot, right? You said there's a ton of changes going on, and keeping up with all of those changes as a business owner becomes a reaction, is what I'm seeing. Yeah. And I think that you have the voice to give them the opportunity to not live in that reaction, but to look at the opportunities, right? And so what would you say to a business owner about what's going on and how they can maybe change their mindset and see the opportunities and things?
First off, thank you. It's a great question. And as I sort of reflect and prepare sort of some of the answer, the first thing that comes to mind is a quote that I think maybe Tony Robbins said it, but I'm sure it's older than that. It was the leadership defined in 3 steps. And if we think about as contractors, leaders of whether it's our team or the entire company, our job is pretty simple. See things as they are, not better, not worse. So we do have a cynical edge to us in the trades, right? We're sort of, as a former angry little guy, we have a bit of a chip in our shoulder sometimes. And so sometimes when we see something bad, we catastrophize, and it's terrible, and the sky is falling. And then sometimes when we see something good, we tend to overplay it, right? And a leader's job isn't to get caught up in that. It's to see things as they are, sort of unemotionally. So that's step 1. Step 2 is see things as they could be. Like what are we dreaming of? What's the vision? What's air conditioning like in 2035? Right. And then step 3 is really easy. It's just make that happen. Right. And so what I think about our role, either ACCA or as a contractor, I'm currently helping in the role of a GM of a $25 million company. And so like living the reality, I'm eating my own cat food here. But nothing ever gets better by, being bombastic and like, just blowing stuff up. Very rarely. I shouldn't say nothing. I can't think of any, but I don't like to speak in absolutes. So what I look at is I say, okay, this is terrible. Let's define the problem. Let's work the problem. So right now, we just come through a transition, which by the way has been on the cards for years. We may not like it, but if any of us sat the EPA test, which does nothing to help you fix an air conditioner, it is full of dates, the Montreal Protocol, the Kigali Accord, all of these different things that talked about our industry changing refrigerants and reducing it. So this has been coming. It's kind of a known thing. We've been talking about for 12 months. And I specifically, for the last 6 months of last year, have been talking to anyone I can, a bit of a broken record. Hey, we've got transition coming up. Is everybody prepared? And people were like, well, I was around for 22 to 410A. This is fine. Or, hey, I'm getting through summer and I'll worry about it afterwards. And there's an element of truth to those things, but this was different. There was both in the requirements for load calc as far as volume of refrigerant with mildly flammable components, and also the type of sell-through period. So we knew that there was going to be some people were forecasting a 20 to 25% increase just with this transition. And for the last 6 months, if we care about our customers, we should have been telling them that. We should have been playing the tape forward. Again, not to, scare the bejesus out of people and get on the news, but like if we say we care, play the tape forward. Is it okay to gas and go this summer? But Mrs. Smith, I just don't want you to be mad at me if I come back next year and all of a sudden, it's this. I would do like all we need to do is educate and inform. And then the customer tells us what to do. We don't need to get emotional about it. Right. So that's one part. Then we had a little fun with tariffs. And it wasn't necessarily the tariffs. I think it was the uncertainty of like, is it over? Is it done? Oh, it's up. Sometimes they change in 3 days. And I did spend some time in Washington as part of the ACCA work that we do advocating for all the men and women. And had breakfast and some dinners with some congressmen, visited them on behalf. And, it was unclear even there. And so it wasn't so much the tariffs. It was like, when will this end? And so, and honestly, for us, I think if we look at it, that was more of a consumer confidence issue than necessarily even a price increase. And I think whenever you do see volatility in the market like this, you see opportunistic pricing. So people have been sitting on pricing for a while, going, can I put it through? Is this a time to push an increase? So we saw some of that, and not just like all through the level, manufacturers, distributors, and contractors. So we're all part of that. And then, in the last 2 weeks, A2L is the new class of refrigerant, but it was made up of R32 and R454B. Most manufacturers, right or wrong, they all get to choose their own refrigerant. A bunch of mainly some of the other manufacturers went with 32. But as I was speaking to some of the the refrigeration manufacturers, they were on the R454 side, they were expecting to do X% after forecasting with the OEMs, and they ended up with like 20 or 30% more. And so there's been a confluence of events that's been leading up to this. I think a lot of uncertainty. Then, certainly there's issues with cylinders, but there's issues with a number of other things as well. And one of the main reasons this has become an issue is because there isn't this source of truth. And so when you look at the role of ACCA or our partners at RD or any of those others, it's our industry is really good at listening to the hobgoblin behind the dumpster and catastrophizing and going, a ton of us get our news off of these Facebook groups, and none of us are winning any Nobel Prize for economics. So I'm not sure that's the best source. But what I have been evangelized for the last number of years is the answer is working together. So there's been a lot of that. Now, that's a lot I just shared, and I'm happy to share the good news and then
Mhm.
even the learnings from that. But yeah, that's just all of that ran up to where for the last 2 weeks there's been a bit of fear and panic and anger and passion being voiced by uh, many people at all the levels through the industry. So yeah, it's fun time, fun time to be chairman.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. You have a lot of work to do. And you have a big voice though that can not just calm people, but like show them the way. And I think that's the most important thing. And I know I put a lot on you, but like that's why you were chosen, right? Because you have the ability to really break things down in a way that people can understand and not react, but be a part of the solution. And I think that's
Yeah,
what you're always asking is for you to rise with your voices so that you have a voice, right?
yeah. I think a lot. One of the gentlemen I like reading about was Lincoln, and he had this phrase, "The better angels of our nature," and I think we all have passions, but I think if we can call out the better angels of our nature together and respond with solutions, first of all,
Mhm.
yes, let's all vent, like, get out our system. Good, do you feel better? Okay, now let's work on solutions because we all know a problem well defined is half solved, right? So,
Mm.
what is the problem? Well, once we start to rationally look at this, and we know that there is a known issue here. This isn't a uh, it should have happened, no, right? But that's none of us are perfect, right? And that's almost irrelevant. It did happen. So now what? Right.
Right.
So the issue is um, that we need to focus on solutions. And so if there is a shortage, let's go to the source of truth. And so when we talk to people, we know that, for example, our friends at Cameras, they have all of the R454 for the systems that they're shipping to the manufacturers, right? So based on that, no reason to panic there. Now, yes, we've all heard outliers of, well, my unit didn't come with refrigerant, or my unit came light, and we can start to connect dots. But if we don't actually check back in or reflect back, has that ever happened before with 14? Yes, 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 it did,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So again, not ideal and compounding a problem. I totally get it. Let's work the problem. So the issue is we're constraining the supply, right? We'll give you one jug a week if So um, when we think of what happened in COVID, where we had these issues with supply, and everybody was like, well, screw it, I'm getting what I need, and I'll order 10 more and I'll send it back. Well, we saw the long tail impact where it was super uncertain. And what happened was the manufacturers were like, holy cow, there's so much demand. And nobody could actually get an accurate bead on the market. And so if we think about it, this refrigerant's been in for about 3 months, 4 months. And we shouldn't necessarily be seeing service issues just now. We might be, but most of the issues are installed. They come with some refrigerant. Yes, we do need some for additional feet of line set, but we'll have that as long as nobody goes crazy and starts hoarding or panic buying. So
Mhm.
as we've talked to Hardy and OEMs, there are solutions. So number one, Train has started to increase the amount in there. Now they are upcharging, but it's not, they're not gouging. It's, a nominal amount.
Supply and demand.
Again, yeah, again, it'd be great if we weren't here, but we are. And I want to, like, when I see that, that's a step that says, look, there is no scarcity. There is some issues, but these issues have a beginning and they will have an end. And we're hearing around about June. Okay. So again, if we all keep our head, so they'll have that. Um, I heard from an industry partner, Carrier is going to. They all have refrigerant at their sites in large bulk for the units they're building. Well, they're looking at the calculations and they're releasing their excess. They're down packaging it in smaller amounts and making that available for contractors. And there are contractors that could use 90-pound cylinders. So ACCA has written some some handling and transfer guides, and we've got that over to our engineering friends over at Hardy, the technical committee at ACCA, and we've asked Commerce to take a look at it. So these are all solutions, even simple things. Can we buy a unit, get a jug, so that we can see that there is supply, and the steps being taken aren't indicative of a larger problem. It's a pain in the tuchus, I get it. But if we keep our heads and actually work together and talk amongst ourselves and with our partners, I think we'll get through this better than if we just sort of rage against the dying of the night.
And let's break that down for let's break it down for a consumer, and then I want to break it down for a business owner, what that means inside of their numbers of running callbacks. And then what we might have forecasted and what we might now need to forecast, like going forward, right? Because that, okay, so you start.
Yes. But this is exactly it. Okay, so here's what we've got an updated base of information. Now what, right? And so this is what we should be doing with our teams. We should be, tiger teaming. Yeah, right. Now what? So we look at it like this. If let's pull in our distributor partners and say, hey, here my plans haven't changed, and I just want to be laser focused that we've got this. Now, I do have these 1 or 2 or 3 or a dozen projects that I know are going to require additional line sets. So I know I will need this. Please work with me to make sure I have access to some form of that. So I think bringing our partners inside this ecosystem that usually we like to rag on, they're part of the solution. So bring them in and work with them. And don't bring them in just to yell at them for an hour. Like, they're not having a good day either. Or like, if they don't have product, they can't make their goals either. I get it. I guarantee you, whoever's desk this issue lands on, it's going to be handled, and we don't need to do it. But so collaborate, work well, forecast, which obviously means we need to know. So bring your team together. It's time for a no BS assessment. Where do we think we'll need to be? Look at alternatives. So we have some 410A stock, right? We do a lot of ductless. We have some in our warehouse. That would be something that would not be dependent on some of these other things. There is plenty of R32, and so are there alternative lines? Now, if everybody goes to 410, if everybody goes to 32, it's what I'm trying to avoid is the COVID toilet paper situation.
Oh, yeah.
As far as I know, we were all still taking the normal number of poops, but we panicked, right? And they were cutting up grandma's dish rag. That's not good, right? So let's keep our heads, and more importantly, let's be the adults in whatever room we're in, because leadership is like living in a fish tank. Everybody's watching you, and so how you carry yourself through this matters. Look, every ship has a good captain in calm waters. That's not what makes you a good captain. It's when the winds start to buffet, the waves get ugly. That's where we're measured, right? That's where we're weighed. And so, how are you at this? And so, as we look at that, that's where we can start to go. Then we can join ACCA. The conversations in the forum, yes, there've been a mix of like sort of passion, like, hey, how did this happen, right? Quickly, we've had some great ideas. I've had people sharing locations of where there is R5454. Like, just because you only have 8 in your region, 8 jugs, there may be somewhere else that we can work together as a network of contractors. And so that's an issue. I had someone who is doing a construction project where this is going to be very painful. Well, we know there are people that have these 90-pound jugs, and that would be a great use there, right? Certainly challenges and technicalities to work out there. But if we work together, and we can lick this problem pretty well. And as an association, our only industry association focused on this, the largest, then that's where we can come together and learn from each other and share what we're hearing based on fact. And so those are some of the functional things. Then from a service perspective, I'm hearing everything about theoretically the pressure and temp charts are the same as 410A. And look, It's sort of, can you do something? Maybe. Is it the best thing to do? I don't know. Do you want to hang that albatross around your neck for the 10 years? Because unless you have a letter from someone uh, that says you not only can you do it, but we'll stand behind you, that's on you, right? And I'm I'm not here to argue with anyone. Like, I see the same things you do. I just have to. I'm responsible, yes, for my business today, but
Mm-hmm.
also for the men and women that are hoping we're making good decisions so that we have security and safety for the next 10, 15 years. Then I think of things like our install practices. So we've been talking at ACCA, we have this quality install process. There's a sort of a twofer here. And if you've never checked this out, I would encourage everybody to check out the ACCA quality installation program. It's first off, it works great with Service Titan. So it's powered by Measure Quick. So there's no real additional step. There's integrations from the Bluetooth tools. And what it basically does is it's a training and a series of steps in a process that will lead you to a great quality install. And that does a couple of things. First, if we're not losing any refrigerant, that mitigates the problem. If we are hoping to get some sort of 410, then we're going to recapture the old refrigerant and make sure that that can be recycled and used again. But then there's this consumer confidence piece. You would have this third party validation. By the way, not just third party, but from the people that literally says this is how you should do it. And now it's not your technician, it's not your customer. If I am a sales professional, um, part of my spiel would be, you've probably heard all kinds of things. I don't know what the other people are telling you, but we want you to feel very good, not just today, but for the next 15 years of this installation. And that's why you don't have to take my word for it. You will get a third party certificate of all the outputs showing you exactly how your system is operating when we're done. So you don't have to take my word for it. It's not something we produce. It is literally by the people that figured out how to size it, install it, and keep it clean and safe. And so you'll have that peace of mind. Now, all of a sudden, we're getting these solutions out there that can help us work through these things. So I think there's definitely opportunities to take away as we're doing this that not only will help us through this, but also help us build a stronger business that's built on strong technical foundations that are never going to change. So
Mm-hmm.
there's that, and then I've heard of people mixing refrigerants or suggesting it. I wouldn't do that. Like again, you're going to own that install for 10 years because nobody's going to support it. And you can turn around and say, well, you should have had, cool. My driver's license says I'm 5'8", and I can yell and scream about that. I'm not 5'8" anymore, but it's not going to change my height, right? Again, it's not good or bad. It just is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
We need to, plan the strategy around the options we have, not we wish we had.
Mm-hmm.
How we're encouraging our members and certainly our team here. And if we have a plan, I think it was Rommel or Pat says no plan survives contact with the enemy. It's our job is to have multiple plans, and so we go. What's your plan B? What's your plan C? But to treat your team not just on how to be strong, but how to be anti-fragile, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
let's not be so good as long as the business does this. Let's know that as different winds that none of us control, external threats and elements, we're going to survive, and we're not just going to do that. We're going to take market share because we're keeping our heads.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a great point. It's there's power in the pivot, but there's also just power in education and helping consumers understand that the price isn't ever going to go backwards. It's always going to go forward. And no matter what you buy, right? No matter
Yeah.
what you buy, like it's not going to decrease all of a sudden.
I told, I was talking to our team here, and they're like, well, there's so many unknowns. I was like, there are, but there are also knowns, right?
Mhm.
Like, you have a problem today. We have a solution today. And you could wait, and who knows what happens, right? But I'll tell you, I've asked all of my team to cast their minds back to, we all saw the increases that came through for COVID, and I asked them to remind me of the first line of the email that announced all of the reductions after COVID went away. And none of them could think of them, right? Because they didn't go away. Nothing ever goes down in price. Go buy a pound of butter. right? Again, I'm not going to waste my emotional energy on that because that's not something I control. I know what my costs are. I know what my commitments to my team and my customers and to myself are. And
Mhm.
so I have to lead through this. And remember, leading is an active process, not just a title.
Mhm. Mhm. I love that. Let's say it again. Leading is an active process, not just a title. Um, and I think that the ones, the ones that got out of COVID, I mean, we won during COVID. Like our industry went crazy, right?
Yep.
And I think that there's just opportunity here to do the same. I know that consumer confidence is low. It doesn't have anything to do with this, right? Like they would be like, we don't know what refrigerant is and like what you're telling
Yeah.
us and like
Yeah.
tell us the right way where we understand, but more than likely you won't. And maybe some sales guys will go in there and be like, this is the installation process and here's our certificate. And the homeowner would be like, great, I'm going to put this in my paperwork.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
But the end goal is to provide comfort and safety for the consumer. That's the end goal. And to install in a safe way, right? Like
Yep.
that's it. Like keep
Yeah.
your team safe. Keep your
That's right.
your consumer safe.
Yeah.
And
Just give them all the information you have and let them decide. Mrs.
yeah.
Smith, I don't know what's going to happen, but I can tell you what it is today. And there's never been a cheaper time than today to install it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the trainings we do, Jerry and I are Jerry Rollins, the great Jerry Rollins. We
Jerry.
talk a lot about feel, felt, found. It's an old sales framework. It's Mrs. Smith, I understand how you feel. A lot of my customers felt that way, and what many of them found was after they'd done the research, they'd waited to get updated pricing, they watched the news, and maybe 30, 60 days later, they found out that it was actually more. And many of them wished that they'd just done it. I get that it's a little bit more than the plan, but I'm here. You have the problem. We have the solution. So we just go ahead and take care of it today. Is that what you'd like to do? Right. And they can say no, they can say yes, but at least you've given them, we call it play the tape forward because we're the professionals. If you run 4 calls a day, 5 days a week, and you're doing this for 20 years, you're going to run 20,000 service calls.
Mm-hmm.
You are in the position best suited to know what else the customer should care about. Because Rodney Coop says it's always about price until you make about something else.
Mm-hmm.
That's why our customers always call in and say, when can you get here and how much is it going to be?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's because they don't know everything that we know,
Right.
right? And so our job is to help them understand the larger picture. And they may still come out on, they just want the cheapest thing. And we have training for that too. And look, that's why no one closes 100%. And that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. But our job is to be able to look our friends and neighbors in the eye at the end of this, knowing we didn't panic, we didn't give them bad advice, and we shared the facts with them, and
Yep.
we took care of them at the time of need.
Yeah. And Jerry would say that it's okay to have healthy conflict. Like you
Oh,
want
absolutely.
like healthy conflict in a sales call in some ways or in a team or in a relationship.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah. And I don't know if people understand what healthy conflict looks like, or maybe
Yeah,
you can say what it
yeah.
looks like.
So, well, I know what it doesn't look like, and so much of our ability to grasp this and be comfortable with this depends on the factories that we came from.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I had a lot of healthy conflict modeled for me. And so it took me about 40 years to understand that not all conflict is terrible and catastrophic. Um, what I, how I frame it for my team is like, look, there are the odd, I have salespeople that still get Christmas cards with the golden retrievers on them from that one customer, but we're not there. We're not getting invited to the bar mitzvah, the quinceanera, the family barbecue. All right, we're not coming to the cookout. We're there as one of three for what on the surface is a transactional experience. Now we can make it so much more, but what we can't do, we're there to get our professional needs met, not I get my emotional needs met, outside of work. And if I'm very lucky, yeah, I get the positive emotional stuff at work as well, but that's not my primary purpose there. And
Mm-hmm.
so let's understand that we're there for a job. The customer knows this, and we don't need to make it weird. we're allowed to hold our ground, because the definition of a deal is something that works for both parties, not
Hmm.
just one. And
Hmm.
so we need to be as fair to our company sometimes as we are to the customer. And I get it, it's tough, but that's the gig.
Yeah, most definitely. And and I love this because it kind of transitions us into the project that you and I are working on with Jerry and Steve Van Horn, and then I'm about to bring in some other people too, which I'm
Yeah.
really excited about. We've been working on Sales Pro, and we called it the Pro You Know. And it was
Yep.
when I looked back at the videos, it means something so much to me, but the advice that we gave during it wasn't just about selling.
Mm.
It was about like the human experience of like how someone shows up in their life and maybe has to go to work, but also about mental health and about like the sales process, owning a business. Like there's so much there. Like, how would you explain what we created for Sales Pro?
So Sales Pro is, well, I'll say it like this. They say good good judgment comes from experience. Experience comes from bad judgment. Now, you can spend 20 years making some of those errors and collecting the good judgment yourself, or
Mhm.
you can work with a mix of technology and incredible people and leaders who have the scar tissue and the battle knowledge, the good days and the bad, you know,
Mhm.
the people that have been through a recession, the people that have been through maybe a fatality in their, these well-rounded individuals. Uh, because you're pretty smart if you can figure things out for yourself, but you're really smart if you can learn from someone else's mistakes. And
Mhm.
so we've created this tool that allows us to capture all that advice, to quantify what's actually going on uh, in a arguably remote setting, right? Because
Mhm.
we know what we train people, but then we don't work on an assembly line. This is post-industrial revolution, right? We have a distributed workforce. And so how do we bring clarity and insight and then meet our mission, which is to equip our men and women that we're asking to do the task every day with the information, tools, and techniques to do the job today, but then also continue to meet the evolving needs as we
Mhm.
go. And that only comes through the application of good technology and a community of experts.
Yeah, yeah. And we have quite the community, and I can't wait to see it grow. I know that you guys are going to test out Sales Pro, and I know that bringing new technology into a business is always difficult, but it
Yeah,
is such an opportunity because I think people think that it's out of the box solutions, right? They're like, oh, here's this,
right.
I'll turn it on. I don't have to train on it. Like it's going to train me. And like that doesn't happen in technology.
Not even a little bit. In fact, that's a recipe for disaster. I think it was Bill Gates that says, technology doesn't fix bad situations. If you've got a good process, it's going to really make that hum and it's going to be really good. But if you've got crappy processes, that technology is really going to amplify that problem. And um, when we think about, it's funny, I was just speaking, we have a Keith Chisholm at our office. He's an incredible wealth of knowledge from, he's our chief technology, chief innovation officer, and as you can imagine, we get help up a lot of ideas, and one of the things he taught me is a couple of things. One of them was we need to learn how to be good customers to technology companies, but second, launching a technology isn't just switching it on.
Mhm.
Go live. Good luck. And 60 days later, well, the technology sucks. What can I say? No one used it, right? Um, and so I think when we think about technology, I think about what itch are we trying to scratch? Like it should really be a very specific application. Like we should have an idea of what we're going to use it for, because that's how we'll know best how to measure the needle. Like if we're watching the needle, then we can see if it's working. But that's only part of it, and I'm happy to share an example. But the other part is then how do we bring that into our day-to-day life? How do we make sure our early internal champions get some early wins? How do we use it as it was intended to then, share what's winning
Mhm.
And in this case, Sales Pro will allow me to use my own team's voice. So I can say it till I'm blue in the face, but they expect me to say it. But then when we give specific examples of the very thing that we've trained on, and they get to hear their own peers saying it, well, now all of a sudden, social proof teaches us that in the absence of knowing what to do, we look for people that are like us and we do what they do.
Mhm.
Right? It's the great herd mentality. So when I hear people that I respect for their technical technical ability in diagnosing or troubleshooting or taking care of customers or whatever it is, and I hear them have success with something in their own words, well, now I'm kind of crazy if I don't do it because it looks like everybody else is doing it. And so we need to think about how we highlight and celebrate it. Do we have a leaderboard? Do we have like funny, like if it doesn't work, it's not the end of it. Like, let's talk about like somebody tried it and it fell flat in their face. Well, okay, let's talk about it. Let's not make it weird. Let's talk to the technician, share what we learned, and reward that, fail forward, right? And
Yeah.
learn from that mistake, and then implement it, because technology will be implemented. And we talk a lot about disruptors, but the
Mhm.
reasons disruptors exist is because typically people inside the industry didn't take advantage of it. So someone had to come from the outside and disrupt. But if we can test, challenge, and evolve the technology we're using, then we'll be much stronger to stand against external disruptors who, honestly, will probably come in and collapse the relationship, commoditize our skill, our legacy,
Mhm.
and make us, something on a spreadsheet to be measured, as opposed to the sharp end of the spear. And so I'm a big believer in bringing that technology in, not just as a piece of technology, but then um, being with the team as they're using it, listening to them, learning from them, giving that feedback to our partners, and then continuing to make sure that we've got the right technology in the right spot, and we're incentivizing the right behaviors and celebrating the wins.
Yeah. I mean, I think the whole theme here has been lean in with each other. You know what I mean? Like it really has been like collaborate with people in the industry, like listen and learn, but don't react. Utilize the tools that are provided for you. There's resources like ACCA to deep dive into your business, and what got us here won't get us there. And so it's okay. Like everything is okay. And when we wake up
Thank you.
every
Yep.
day and we say that, like you're awake, like that's a gift, right? Like
Right.
start
Yep.
there. That's a gift of
Yeah.
gratitude. You know, Jerry would say next star I gave you like the 5-5-20, and like I've started that in my life, and it
Yep.
literally gratitude is a life changer. But at the same time, just know that you're running a business, you've done hard things before, and you can do hard things now.
Yep.
And choose your hard, like Cody
Yeah.
Sanchez would.
100%. Like it's someone once told me, if you have to eat poop, take big bites.
Yeah.
Get through it. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes there's no way through but through, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you had, as we wrap this up, if you had one piece of advice to give to contractors, we'll definitely post all of your references for ACCA. We'll get you,
Yeah.
it's not what it was before. It is something different. Now Eddie's in charge, and like, and he's here talking to you about it. And that's the
Yep.
difference, like, right?
Yep.
Like we can
Yeah.
be the change that we want to be. And so what one piece of advice would you give contractors today?
Yeah.
About anything.
So I've thought about this over the week, because I think it it calls out some of our tendencies, including myself as a contractor. When situations get bad, transitions 22, R454, or just running a business and dealing with people and customer, right? So if I'm in a deep hole shoveling poop, and you're giving me advice about how to shovel poop, you better be holding a shovel. And I think there's this idea that, like, people think, well, people, so and so should do this, or this isn't right, we should do this. And I'm like, cool, let's get the work done. Let's roll up our sleeves. Let's tackle the problem, and I'll listen to you. I tell my teams all the time, the price of your opinion is participation. If you're not participating, I don't really need to listen to your opinion. I will because I'm a nice guy, but like I'm only going to be so much. But if you're in there with me and you're like, hey man, I tried that thing you said. That was kind of BS. I don't like. Well, okay, let's do some ride-alongs. Like, let's look into it together. How did you do it? Hey, let me take another swing at it, right? Because if you're participating, wow, that's magic. Because that's how the work gets done. But if you just want to be one of those guys standing by the edge and going, "Hey, you missed a bit. No, I wouldn't have done it that way." You know, I'm going to be too busy working to listen.
It always reminds me of like what you don't know, but when you do know, you take action. And that's not action of other people's opinions, it's action of your own being, of taking the knowledge that you've gained and implementing. So like, that's what always reminds me. And if someone wanted to contact you and get a hold of you, how would they do that?
I will share all my information with you. I'm quite lonely. They can read. No, I'm just kidding. My information's but I would encourage them, if you haven't checked out ACCA and it's been a hot minute, listen, we're different now. We'll be different when you join us and bring your passions, your creativity, and your voice and your time. That's what we need. There is no ACCA. There's just us. We're the ones doing the work, right? So and if you're listening to this and you're like, man, I would never go to ACCA, do me a favor, contact me. I'll give you my information. Tell me why. Tell me what would need to change, because it's ours. It's our industry. And if you think it sucks, great. Feedback is a gift. Let me know what has changed. What do we change? Because I'll tell you, when we start to reflect the needs of the industry to the point where, man, I'm bringing 2 or 3 of these chucking a truck from my market because I'm tired of competing with someone that doesn't understand how to do business. Well, not only will we have great events, but we'll go back to marketplaces where at least we're all competing on the right thing. And everybody wins. Our teams win, our communities win, our customers win, the industry, all of us, we are merely caretakers. If any one of us is doing well in the business, it is because we are sitting under the shade that somebody planted 20 years ago. And it's our job to pay it forward. We're just caretakers. So what are we going to do to leave this industry better than we found it for the next generation of tradespeople?
I love it. I love it. Well, listeners, thank you so much for everything today. Eddie, you are amazing. I adore you. I appreciate you, and what appreciates. So listeners, if you love this, leave us a review, leave us a comment. I'll drop all of Eddie's information. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.